Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into a relationship that is pretty much universal, yet somehow becomes incredibly complicated as we get older. We're talking about the bond with our parents. I mean, we all want a good, solid relationship with them, right? But navigating that massive shift from being a completely dependent child to a fully independent adult, that requires some real intentional effort. It doesn't just happen by magic. So often we find ourselves falling back into these old childhood patterns or honestly just taking the relationship for granted simply because it's always been there. It's the background noise of our lives. But over the next few minutes, we're going to really unpack the psychology behind this. We're going to build a comprehensive, truly actionable toolkit to help you nurture this connection. Because whether you're dealing with just everyday mundane interactions or significantly more complex family dynamics, this whole process is about creating lasting family connections and a dynamic that actually benefits everyone involved. So let me ask you a direct question right off the bat. How intentional is your relationship with your parents right now? Like, really think about it. Are you actively nurturing it, or is it just kind of slipped onto autopilot? It is so incredibly common for us to let our most secure, long-standing relationships just coast. You know, we get busy. We've got our careers, our own kids, our daily routines. It's a lot. But the real danger of this autopilot trap is that emotional distance slowly, quietly creeps in without us even noticing until it's a huge gap. Moving beyond a passive, I'll call them when I have time, relationship, into a truly active, intentional effort is absolutely crucial. That intentionality is exactly what transforms a standard, obligatory family tie into a profound, lifelong connection. So, here is our roadmap for today's explainer. First, the mindset of kindness. Second, deep listening and daily acts. Third, the power of positive communication. Fourth, emotional support and conflict. And finally, building lasting family culture. Let's jump straight into building block number 1, the mindset of kindness. I want you to think about kindness as a giant 3-tiered puzzle or pyramid. Right at the top, we have personal fulfillment. What this means is that being actively kind actually creates lasting happiness and deep satisfaction for you, the giver. In the middle, we've got family harmony. Consistent kindness reduces conflict and strengthens bonds across the entire family board. And at the foundational base, there's parental well-being, because your kindness directly supports their mental and emotional health. But let's actually look at the underlying psychology here, because it's fascinating. Research clearly shows that parents who receive consistent kindness and appreciation from their adult children experience a massive drop in cortisol. And cortisol, as you probably know, is the body's primary stress hormone. When their underlying everyday stress drops, what happens? They naturally become less critical, they're more relaxed, and they are far more supportive of you. It's this beautiful cycle of mutual support. By taking the initiative to be kind, you literally lower the defensive walls in the entire family dynamic, allowing that goodwill to flow effortlessly in both directions. Now, it is incredibly easy to focus on the mistakes our parents might have made. Let's be real, we all have some baggage. But shifting your mindset to genuinely acknowledge the sheer, overwhelming volume of mundane, daily care they provided for decades, that fundamentally rewires your brain for gratitude. When we consciously make the choice to treat them with respect, we aren't just looking backward to say, thanks for raising me. We are actively creating a strong foundation for a healthier relationship right here, right now. And here's a really cool side effect. Treating your parents with this level of intentional grace acts like a training ground. It literally elevates how you handle patience and empathy with your partner, your friends, and even your coworkers. It completely changes how you interact with the entire world. Moving right along to section 2, deep listening and daily acts. Okay, we have all been in this exact scenario, right? You're trying to explain to your mom or dad why their tablet won't connect to the Wi-Fi or how to reset a password for the 10th time, and that familiar generational impatience just starts to bubble up. Well, here is your toolkit for those exact frustrating moments. Step 1, create a distraction-free zone. That means literally putting your own phone away, closing your laptop, and making real, sustained eye contact. Step 2, practice active listening. Nod along, ask clarifying questions, and try summarizing what you've just heard them say. And remember, listening does not mean you have to agree with their logic, it just means you respect their perspective. And step 3, respond thoughtfully. If you feel that overwhelming urge to sigh heavily or roll your eyes during a tech lesson, and we all do, just count to 5 in your head. Seriously. Remember, these are the exact people who taught you how to use a spoon. They absolutely deserve a thoughtful, patient pause while they try to figure out a touchscreen. But you know, listening is really just the baseline. The next step is seamlessly weaving small acts of kindness into your daily routine. Look at things like household support. This isn't just about doing the dishes when you visit. It's about lifting the mental load. When you notice what needs doing around their house and you just handle it without having to be asked, you are communicating something huge. You're saying, hey, you don't have to manage me anymore. I am an equal, capable contributor. That is profoundly validating for a parent to experience. Then you have thoughtful gestures. A quick out-of-the-blue text just to say you're thinking of them goes such a long way. Combine that with quality time, doing shared activities, or offering practical assistance like driving them to an appointment or setting up their new phone. When you practice these small actions consistently, day in and day out, you prove that you deeply value their comfort and presence in your life. Which brings us to Section 3, the power of positive communication. We so often fall into the trap of the autopilot, thanks. You know how it is. Someone hands you a coffee, you say thanks. Someone holds a door, you say thanks. But shifting to specific gratitude is an absolute game changer for relationships. Instead of a quick, throwaway, thanks for dinner, try saying something like, I really appreciate that you remembered I love this specific recipe, or thank you so much for listening to me vent about my work stress yesterday. See the difference? Specificity tells your parent that they are truly seen and understood by you. Feeling seen is a core human psychological need, and honestly, it becomes even more vital to our well-being as we age. Expressing this highly specific type of gratitude drastically strengthens your emotional bonds and completely shifts the tone of the entire relationship. Another incredibly vital communication tool is simply sharing your life with them. When we become independent adults, it's very, very easy to accidentally shut our parents out of the mundane, everyday details of our lives. We think they don't care or we're just too busy. But sharing your daily challenges or your small wins at work is massive for them. It prevents them from feeling obsolete or left behind as your world expands. And asking for their advice, even if you don't perfectly follow it, and let's be honest, we usually don't, it shows that you still deeply, fundamentally respect their life experience. Regular updates keep them intimately connected to your reality and create wonderful, natural opportunities for them to offer their wisdom. Using affirming language is also essential. Saying I love you is powerful, for sure, but I want you to consider the profound emotional impact of saying this. I'm proud to be your child. Think about it. We spend our entire lives, from being little kids all the way through adulthood, desperately wanting our parents to be proud of us. But we rarely stop to realize how deeply they want to know that we are proud of them. Never ever just assume they know how you feel. Actually verbalizing your positive feelings and letting them know out loud that they succeeded as parents, it changes everything. It's a total paradigm shift. All right, on to Section 4, emotional support and navigating conflict. Let's explore this idea of the cycle of emotional support. As our parents age, there's this subtle, sometimes really tricky role reversal that begins to happen. They're suddenly facing major life transitions that they have never, ever had to navigate before. Things like adjusting to retirement, navigating sudden and scary health issues, or just dealing with the quietness of an empty house. And often, because of generational norms, they are way too proud to actually ask for help. This cycle involves regular check-ins to establish comforting routines, emotional awareness to notice subtle shifts in their moods, meaningful conversations, and celebrating milestones. It is largely up to you to be the one to recognize those unspoken signs of stress. Sometimes just gently noting, hey, I noticed you seem a little quiet today. Is everything okay? Acts as a massive lifeline. It opens the door to incredible connection and much-needed support. But let's be totally realistic here. Even in the absolute most supportive, loving families, conflicts happen. They just do. And conflict with parents is uniquely triggering because it almost instantly pulls us right back into our childhood dynamics. Suddenly, you feel like a misunderstood teenager again. To break that cycle, you need a framework. 1. Pause before reacting. 2. Listen to understand. 3. Communicate respectfully. And 4. Seek common ground. Now, listening to understand, rather than just reloading your argument in your head and eagerly waiting for your turn to speak, is the ultimate sign that you have successfully transitioned from a reactive child into a mature adult. Healthy relationships are defined by exactly how disagreements are managed, not by some fake illusion that they never happen at all. Let's dig into the physiological side of that very first step, the pause. Notice a striking difference between an emotional reaction and a thoughtful response. An emotional reaction is almost always defensive. It's operating instantly from our brain's primal fight or flight center, and it escalates the conflict immediately. But a thoughtful response, that creates space. Taking a physical deep breath literally regulates your nervous system, pulling you out of that intense defensive posture. It gives you the mental clarity to use I statements, like I feel really overwhelmed when this happens, rather than just throwing out those accusatory you always do this statements. Maintaining a calm, regulated tone completely changes the entire trajectory of the disagreement. Ultimately, navigating any kind of family conflict requires you to lead by example. Demonstrate respect in all your interactions, naturally and consistently. Take responsibility by admitting your own mistakes promptly, which, by the way, builds immense trust. But most importantly, practice empathy. Try to genuinely put yourself in their shoes for a minute. They might be dealing with the really daunting physical realities of aging or the quiet, persistent anxiety of living on a fixed income. When you actively model respect and radical empathy in the face of conflict, you act as a thermostat for the room. Instead of just reflecting the intense heat of an argument like a thermometer, you actively set a calm, cool temperature for the entire family dynamic. And finally, Section 5, Building Lasting Family Culture. To sustain all of the support over the long haul, we've got to create a deliberate family culture. That means consciously establishing meaningful traditions that everyone actually looks forward to and enjoys. This could be anything: a weekly game night, a specific monthly dinner at a favorite spot, or an annual trip somewhere special. Think of these shared experiences as an emotional bank account. Every single time you connect positively, you are making a deposit. You are building up a massive reserve of positive memories and goodwill that the family can draw upon later during stressful times or inevitable disagreements. You can even create traditions that specifically honor your parents, consciously recreating special moments from your family's history to show them their legacy matters. Establishing open communication forums is also super vital to building this culture. Now, don't worry, this doesn't mean you need to run a rigid corporate boardroom agenda in your parents' living room. It simply means holding regular, incredibly safe spaces, maybe over a really casual Sunday dinner or a Saturday morning coffee, where everyone feels totally comfortable sharing their thoughts and concerns. The massive, undeniable value here is that you get to resolve minor annoyances early. Dealing with those small frictions in a judgment-free zone prevents them from quietly snowballing into massive, holiday-ruining blowouts. It ensures that everyone's voice, regardless of generation, is valued equally. Because really, supporting your parents is a lifelong marathon. It is absolutely not a sprint of occasional, flashy, grand gestures. It is a deep commitment to consistent, everyday kindness. The ultimate gift you can give them is creating an ecosystem where respect and mutual support are simply the everyday norm. And remember this, because it's crucial. If you have children or if you plan to have them one day, they are watching everything you do. The exact way you speak to and support your parents today is quite literally the curriculum you are using to teach your children how to treat you tomorrow. You are actively, right now, extending a legacy. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one very direct, provocative question to think about. What small act of kindness will you implement today? Don't wait for the quote-unquote perfect moment. Don't wait around for Mother's Day or Father's Day or their next birthday. Our time with our parents is finite, and it moves so much faster than we ever realize. So take just one thing we explored today. Maybe it's the specific gratitude, the distraction-free listening, or honestly, simply sending an encouraging text message, and go do it right now. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Now go out there and make that connection.